Hello and welcome back to Simply Social Work. It's been a little while. I apologize. I'm going to try and be a little more accountable. There's been a lot in the world of Simply Social Work happening, and unfortunately filming has been a little bit tricky, mainly due to location, but we are back. Today's video I'm really excited about. This actually is a subscriber request, so a big thank you to Nathalie for recommending that I react to Turning Red, which is a Disney Pixar film, and this comes after my last reaction video of Disney's Encanto. If you missed that, I will link it in the description box below. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback after that video. It really was better received than even I had hoped for or expected. So today I'm going to be doing the exact same style. I have never seen Turning Red. I don't think it's even a musical, so I really know very little about it. I know some general maybe concepts about it, so I'm really excited. I'll be looking at it from a mental health perspective, from a social work perspective, and reacting in live time as I watch it. So let's get something comfy, maybe a tea, maybe it's some snack food, and let's get started.
Honoring your parents sounds great, but if you take it too far, well, you might forget to honor yourself.
True. That is absolutely true, and we see it quite often, especially depending on your family dynamic. Okay, I like her. Wait. This bitch has a Tamagotchi. This bitch has a Tamagotchi and it's just chilling, and there's a TTC in the background. I want a Tamagotchi. Where's my Tamagotchi? If you had a Tamagotchi and instantly got the feels, let me know in the comments how long you managed to keep it alive. I did not do great. Anyone who's like, representation doesn't matter, I got so excited seeing the CN Tower, and this, I'm not in this demographic, but like, I like seeing my home city animated. This is cool. Daisy Mart.
I am my own person, but that doesn't mean doing whatever I want.
Okay, I actually like that. That is really true. I am my own person, but that doesn't mean that I get to do whatever I want. A lot of times there's this idea that, you know, if I am my own person, that means that it's my way, or it's what I want, or it's all about myself. And sometimes I even have clients ask me, well, where's the line between independent and selfish? And I think that's a really good point, right? You are your own person and you do need to protect yourself, and it is about doing what's best for you. But that doesn't mean that it always comes at the expense of others. If you're in a family unit, if you're in a couple, even if you're in a neighborhood, a community, what you do may have an impact on other people, and it means considering that and being compassionate and sometimes doing things you don't want to do for other people. It doesn't always mean that you're brainwashed, although if it gets taken to extreme, then that's what happens, right? But it's that balance between looking after yourself and also thinking about others. So I really like that. Okay, the soundtrack slaps. Oh, I sense a first crush. So mom obviously has definite boundary issues, right? It's perfectly normal for your kid to have a crush and like doodle and whatever, and her first instinct is like, we're going to the sketchy Daisy Mart. That's wild. Also, even the fact that she instantly picks up the notebook and opens it, that's definitely some boundary issues. I think a lot of parents, and I hear it even from clients, although I work mainly with adults, that, you know, parents have this idea that it's what goes on under their roof is all of their business and their kids don't have privacy. But developmentally, privacy and that sense of trust is actually really important. So I definitely am seeing where this is going for sure. Getting some anxiety, you can hear the beating heart, the audio sounds. This is very accurate for what that could feel like internally. Poor thing.
This will never happen again.
Even that, right? That internalized, you know, messages about, well, those awful things, those, you know, this will never happen again, she's your pride and joy, act like it. Those are all internalized ideas that she reacted so negatively, so therefore this was bad and wrong, when it actually, with maybe proper sexual health education, is perfectly normal and understandable and a natural part of development. So we see that a lot too, right? Where different beliefs and different expectations get taught that that's wrong or invalid, when really it's a part of growing up.
Did the red peony bloom?
No! Dad just backs away at the idea that this girl has her period. That's That's so true for many. I love that. Dad's like, not today.
Ibuprofen, vitamin B, a hot water bottle, and pads.
The go-tos.
I'm calm. Zen.
Okay, so yeah, definitely what I'm seeing there. So the big emotions that come, especially with puberty or time of the month, I like the way that she used red peony blooms. A lot of teenage girls have some kind of expression for their period because it's still something that you're not supposed to talk about, even though it really shouldn't be that way. But here it was sort of with the big emotions once she looked like did almost a form of meditation with the mantra, some deep breathing. Once she, it sounds like what we call flooding, right? When you're in that high emotional state, there's the body reactions, there's the intense emotion. She's the panda. And then when she was able to calm that stuff down and return to a more baseline state, wasn't flooded anymore, she was back to the poor preschooler, or preteen, not preschooler, back to the poor preteen. Also, as a side note, the middle school, Lester B. Pearson, there's a lot of Lester B. Pearson schools, especially in the GTA and in Ontario, here in Canada. So that's a nice little tidbit. I don't know if that's an actual school in that area, but I know of some for sure. The Bieber hair flip made a generation. So far, I really like the way they're portraying the anxiety, where you can always hear the heart rate and you can kind of see her body changes, but it's always that background sound, because that can be really what it feels like for sure. Boundaries. Definite boundaries. You don't just like follow your kid to school and stand outside her classroom. I don't know who needs to hear that, but if anyone does, don't do it. No wonder this kid has issues.
You forgot your...
That is an unspoken rule. Should you be able to freely and confidently be like, there's my pad? Yes. Is that a thing for teenage girls, especially with that where it's all hush hush and you're very put together? No. That would be like the ultimate embarrassment at the time, just based on especially how things were. It's better now, but it's always like girls growing up, right? You always learn how to like tuck it in your sleeve, or you hope that nobody asks you why you're bringing your backpack to the bathroom. Poor kid. Oh my gosh. So far, I'm also seeing, I mentioned it earlier just for like location for me, but I'm also seeing a lot of really good representation. It's a very diverse cast, even offhand, right? If you go back, especially now that maybe I'm mentioning it, and look at other animated movies, everyone's white. Just, it's a baseline automatic, everyone's white. Whereas here there's different ethnicities, different cultures represented. It's not just in Toronto's Chinatown, which is a really thriving community, but as she's running through the streets, her classmates, the security guard, even her friend group, right? There's different people represented. I like that. It's a breath of fresh air, and it shouldn't be something that stands out so much, but at least we're doing it. Okay, so yeah, a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, it sounds like they talk about harnessing emotions, right, to become this protector, and really validating the emotions that even difficult emotions have importance. There's no such thing as a bad emotion, right? So it sounds like everything that we maybe are taught sometimes or think of as bad emotions, which as a therapist I teach all the time, there's no such thing as a bad emotion, is something that she's able to use to actually protect herself and others. And I like the way we use harness, not control. And it sounds like definitely getting some vibes of, you know, you're very subdued, you're very quiet, you're very polished, you're very precise. So this would be an inconvenience to the new first or second generation Asian Canadians, right, where we do see some different cultural implications that come into play, and having these big emotions come out in such an obvious way, right, turning into a big fucking panda that is kind of destructive because you're so big, would be seen as more of an inconvenience than something helpful. So now we're probably dipping into the demonstration of why trying to control your emotions or deny your emotions or suppress your emotions, why it does not work, which I know I've talked about before. So really interesting movie premise.
I thought I had more time. You're just a child. I thought if I watched you like a hawk, I'd see the signs and be able to prepare.
And even this, right, the solution being to control, to prevent any problems, to protect from all harm, it doesn't work, right? The more you try and kind of control, like you said, watch you like a hawk, be on top of everything as a parent, the more disservice you're doing to your kid, right? They don't learn the necessary skills on their own. They don't get that independence. That trust isn't there. And also it doesn't work, right? Your job is not to protect them from anything bad ever happening, right? So we've seen that here. A lot of times adults think that kids can't hear as much as they can, as much as they do, and they're hearing, they're listening, they're taking that in. So the idea that nobody can see her that way is really prevalent, and we're fighting so hard to get rid of that stigma around mental health, right? The idea that you can't that you can't be seen as not okay. You have to present this perfect facade to the world, and that's just not true. You can't go through things alone. It's not realistic, it's not practical, and it's okay to not be okay. And the more you try to pretend that it isn't happening, the more you isolate yourself, the worse off you're going to be. But she's hearing all of these messages, and these are all going to get internalized, and it's going to make her struggle that much more challenging. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So far, so good. So again, thank you, Nathalie, for the recommendation. If there's ever something else anyone ever wants me to review or react to, I'm always taking suggestions, so be sure to let me know. Because this one's great.
Inconvenient, genetic thingy I got from my mom. I mean,
which kind of makes it sound like a disease or like an STI. Right? And even here, her friends kind of chill, don't really care, right? They care more about her, and they're like, cool, you're a red panda. It's fluffy. And they support her, right? She's not hiding from them, mostly because sometimes you get to a point where you can't hide it anymore. And we're seeing that here. And this is a really cool group she's got. I like that they're showing this. Kids bounce back. They're the most open-minded. Adults have all these preconceived notions, and kids just don't, right? So that's why sometimes your friends can be a lot more supportive than adults when you're at that age, because there's less judgment. I mean, bullies aside, your friends have less judgment about you typically than adults would, because we already have our ideas about the world.
Girl. Panda or no panda?
Visualization, the deep breathing, love that. Awesome. As a side note, okay, so visualization, taking deep breaths, some people call it your happy place, visualizing positive things, calming things. Yes. This like interrogation about emotions, don't do that. Don't try this at home, kids. That's a no. That is a hard no from your registered social worker, your therapist, online. Don't do that. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. You can't, it's not like we're controlling. I don't even know what the equivalent would be. This is weird. It's not like you're controlling or rehearsing. You feel what you feel, and you need to learn to cope with it, not just sit there and hold your breath and it'll pass, right? But the visualization and the feeling through the emotion, yes. Bro, okay, the presentation for why you need to go to a concert. I've never done it to that level, but one time my friend and I really hope she doesn't watch this. If she does, I'm totally calling us out. One time we sent a petition around our class to see if we could go to a concert that day, because we only just found out, and it worked. We did. We convinced her mom. I don't even know if she needed that much convincing, but 100% presentations, dance routines for why you should sleep over. 13-year-old preteens are a little bit whack. I love that.
Treating her own mother like that.
Me? It's your mother.
I'm not here.
So we have some generational things, also very common, right? We all learn it from somewhere, and sometimes we either try really hard not to be like our parent or try really hard to be like our parent, but regardless, the way we are parented has an impact on us and how we then go to the next generation.
Sir, why doesn't my mom get that? I never asked for anything. My whole life I've been her perfect little maid. Temple duties, grades,
Violin! Tap dancing.
yeah.
Even with that, right, there's some resentment there, because she's tried to do everything her mom wants, everything that she knows that she doesn't want. The problem you see right here, right with that resentment, is when you act against your boundaries, or when you let your boundaries be crossed, and you kind of do that time and time again, and you never kind of speak up for yourself or never state your wants and needs, you get resentful, right? They're benefiting from your boundaries. They might not even realize, which is probably going to come in at some point, they might not even realize that this isn't what you want because you're never saying anything. But that, again, all gets turned inwards, and then there's that resentment, and that resentment leads to this bottled up emotion that eventually needs somewhere to go. In this case, it's a panda. The old flip phones. This kind of reminds me of growing up in the age of social media where everything becomes like this, right? Merchandise, monetize, the things that are cute or interesting quickly become a brand. I grew up in the age of YouTubers, hence why I'm now making YouTube videos, and people base a lot off of it, and it strikes me as interesting, right? That something that she wanted to hide quickly became something that everybody loved about her. It made her popular. And I think a lot of times that happens. The things that we don't like about ourselves are actually what is interesting and unique. And I love it. So far, this is awesome. So far, there's intergenerational cycles, there's societal norms and stigmas, there's even just societal trends, right? This is almost like a TikTok dance. And she's kind of coming into her own, and it's definitely going to be the opposite way that her mother was. And at some point, they're going to have to find that way to come together, because it's not out of malice. It's very obvious she misses her. Mom misses her and cares about her, but needing to find a way without controlling her or making her choices for her.
Come. Don't be silly. We're already on the way.
But I don't want you to!
And that's the first time, right, that she's actually stood up for herself and said what she wanted, and it had to be in that kind of blunt way, because Mom is not used to that. The dynamic is she comes, she goes, whatever it is, and there's no fight. So that would be hurtful. I think that's an important aspect of boundaries, right? Putting up a new boundary won't always be well received. It won't always be pain-free, but that doesn't mean that it isn't worth doing anyway.
Ladies,
Oh, grandma means business.
if Mei's panda is anything like Ming's,
Shade.
Your mother and I were close once, but the red panda took that away.
I don't think the red panda took that away. I think your restrictive boundaries and lack of mutual respect and understanding probably took that away. Good friends. Good solidarity. I also like that we see that the bully actually is like kind of a not super popular, has some insecurities, and then she remembers her roots, and like the wallflower sitting on the couch she brings in. So it shows that things aren't always what they seem. But that's the problem when you don't give someone a voice and then expect them to be different people, right? She's a different person to her friends than she is to her mother, and at some point that has to become the same person. Still, soundtrack's giving me like Life is Strange vibes. I'm here for it. Also makes me really happy. For those who are not in Toronto, not in Canada, the Sky Dome is like a staple. It's like the Toronto, it's where the Blue Jays play. It's a staple concert venue. But then Rogers bought it, and it was this whole drama. They renamed it the Rogers Centre. And people in Toronto feel very strongly about the fact that it's always the Sky Dome, completely separate rant. Someone got to name it out of a competition, so it actually always has to stay the Sky Dome. So I love that this movie put it back to the Sky Dome, even though that isn't officially back yet. So that made me really happy. You learned something about Toronto today.
Like all the women around this table, you too will banish the beast within and finally become your true self.
In contradiction, right? Banish the beast within and become your true self, where we all have that beast within. A really good book, Burnout, Breaking the Stress Cycle, or Unlocking the Stress Cycle, talks about your mad woman in the attic. Well, however you conceptualize it, we all have those emotional parts of us and need to feel them and need to honor them in order to be our true self.
Hey, Dad. I'm almost...
Oh, it's like in Canto. It's going to be Dad to save the day.
People have all kinds of sides to them, May. And some sides are messy. The point isn't to push the bad stuff away, it's to make room for it.
Make room for it. Oh no, the poor panda. First time she's true to herself fully. The symbolism of her family holding her back from being who she truly is, that is very, very common and accurate. Oh, her necklace broke. And now this is going to be so much worse because she has held her emotions back for so long and refuse to react and feel her feelings. And I really like, there's definitely quite a few things that I really like about this, and some really good messages that I'm seeing. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Robert Jr.?
She's been taking care of him 24/7.
No, and singing his lullabies every night!
No.
That's the biggest form of love for 13-year-olds back in the day. You might be mad, but you saved that Tamagotchi.
Town forever. Town.
Forgiveness.
I like loud music! I like gyrating! I'm 13! Deal with it!
I never went to concerts. I put my family first.
See, right? Putting her experience, what she had to do, onto her daughter when she probably actually wanted to avoid that the whole time.
Sunny, give me strength.
Ooh, we're unleashing more pandas.
Oh, my
It's probably the first time she's seen her mom cry. This is a good visual representation of what it can be like for the cycle ender, right? And sometimes even having the daughter having the burden of the mother, right? Sometimes it can often feel like this. This is a really good depiction. I like that it's not a universal choice, right? They've lived without the panda so long and that's their choice. But they recognize that that's not her choice. It's big growth for them. They've lived a long time with their set ideas.
I see you, Mei. You try to make everyone happy, but are so hard on yourself. And if I taught you that...
Okay, that is everything. I understand why people are talking about this movie now. We do not have parents apologizing to their kids. It's never in films and it's never really recognized. I know there's talk on the internet that Disney's raising a generation of parents who apologize, and I love that because she's acknowledging that her parenting wasn't perfect and that she made mistakes and that you can be wrong. When parents don't teach their kids that they can be wrong, it teaches them some really unhealthy patterns for future relationships, right? I love that. It's not flipping to the other side and kind of manipulative, right? Like, oh, you're saying I'm a bad mom or this and that. It's actually seeing her, recognizing her mistakes and apologizing for it. Good job, Pixar. Good job, Pixar. I'm here for this.
My panda, my choice, Mom.
My panda, my choice. Pixar gets it.
Sometimes I miss how things were, but nothing stays the same forever.
Can't repeat the past. Okay, let me think. Final thoughts. That was great. That was great. That taught about generational cycles, that taught about emotional acceptance, right? The more you try and fight your emotions, like she said, never let them out, the worse it is. Sometimes the worse you are, sometimes the worse your relationships can be. It's all about, like the dad said, making space and finding ways to live with them, right? And sure, there's times where people got hurt, or there's times where anger was problematic, so there is learning to live with it, and it doesn't mean that that's always okay, but only living for other people's approval, as you saw, didn't make anyone happy. Didn't make mom happy, didn't make main character happy, didn't make friends happy. Nobody was happy until everyone started living authentically to themselves. Didn't mean everyone embraced their red panda, but it meant that that was the best choice for her, and that's what she did. So I loved that. I also, as a GTA girl, loved that this was in Toronto. I loved the little side bits. I loved some of the Easter eggs, even some of the slang that was used. It kind of took me way back. So overall, really good movie. So I'd love to know what I missed, what you thought, what your interpretations are. Are there cultural aspects? Are there different things that I just didn't talk about? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and let me know what you want me to blind react to next as your registered social worker and psychotherapist here on the internet. Okay, take care.